Got a new national survey that's come out by Arizona Christian University's Cultural Research Center, which is led by Dr. George Barna. And the survey is indicating that voting enthusiasm is significantly lower this election year than it was in 2020. That in itself is alarming enough. But the survey also found that a massive number of self-identified Christians who even regularly attend church services, they are not likely to vote in November. Some 32 million of them. Friends, this is huge. These are huge numbers, especially knowing how close that this race is probably going to be. So can Christians really afford to sit this one out? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Matt Carpenter. He's the director of FRC Action. Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Jody.
All right, tell us about this survey and the numbers that it came up with. What do we know so far?
Yeah, well, Jody, as you pointed out, George Barna is probably the preeminent kind of Christian worldview researcher. He's from Arizona Christian University, and he just released a study of 3,000 adults in America, representative of the entire nation, asked them some questions about their faith commitments, their religious background, and more to get a sense of how they're going to be participating in the election in just 24 days. Can you believe it? 24 days. And the results were quite frankly startling. You know, normally you get public polling and you get a sense of how likely voters or registered voters are going to behave in the upcoming election. And so that's kind of, we're used to that by now. You get a deluge of polling every day telling you how the race is shifting. But rarely do you get insight into this population of voters that's not going to participate in the election. There's a lot of debate about undecided voters. How are they going to sway the election? And the value of this study of Barna's work here is digging into what's keeping Christian voters from engaging in the political sphere in voting for the elections. And it was just absolutely mind-boggling to see 32 million regular attendees of churches across the country who do not intend to vote this election. And even more startling, 41 million. Think about it. The population of California is 39 million. 41 million born-again Christians, so people who self-identified as people who take into consideration sin and their need for salvation, do not intend to vote in this election. And you have to figure, Jody, if they were to engage and come out this election, they would be determinative of elections up and down the ballot from coast to coast.
Yeah, and as I understand, it wasn't just the Christian community. I mean, there's some 100 million, am I correct? Just people of faith who somehow in one capacity or another identify as people of faith that said they are likely not to vote. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, the total number was, I think, 104 million people. And these are people of any kind of faith commitment at all. So this would be people of the Jewish persuasion, of the Islamic faith, Hindu, you name it. They were included in this study. But what really stood out was kind of the political apathy of this large swath of the Christian vote in America.
Yeah, 100 million overall, but 40% of that being Christians. Did the survey indicate any reason for this lower enthusiasm?
They identified several kind of key factors, but the primary one is just a distaste in both the major political party candidates, frankly, for president. There's just not a lot of enthusiasm among this group of voters for either major political party. And when you dig a little bit deeper, you kind of find out that maybe some of them are just unaware of who the candidates are. It's noteworthy that the political apathy that Barna measured here among this population is not just kind of cabined within millennials or Gen Z. It's actually also prevalent among boomer and older generations as well. So there's not a generational divide that you typically find in a survey like this. It's transparent across the board, really. But there's also concern, Jody, and you might be aware of this in your own kind of conduct as well. Is a lot of voters say that they don't think their vote matters. They look at maybe the 2020 election and wonder if there was manipulation going on. They wonder if the elections have been fixed, and so they're almost saying, what's the point in voting if illegal immigrants might vote, if we're not securing the ballot box? So the questions of election integrity are also looming large over this group of voters.
Wow. Well, these are issues that need to be fixed. Was there anything in there, Matt, that would indicate what perhaps it would take to get these non-voters to go out and vote?
Yeah, the silver lining here in this study, Jody, is that 1 in 6 of this, 70 million, essentially, if you add them up, Christians who don't plan to vote, could be persuaded to vote if they had just heard a message from the pulpit occasionally about the importance of participating in elections, the importance of government, the importance of stewarding the responsibilities the Lord has entrusted us with, including the right to vote, responsibly. And so that's, you move 1 in 6 of that population, and you are, again, you're going to impact election outcomes from coast to coast in every state. But additionally, they also are saying that they could be persuaded by a family member or a friend, which is so crucial for the work we do here at Family Research Council with our voter guides and to get education resources out there. So I would really encourage our listeners, take those resources and run with them, because 1 out of 7 of that, 70 million Christians who might not vote could be impacted by just you forwarding them a link, sending them a website, forwarding them an email, showing them a voter guide. So it's a lack of information. It's a kind of an apathy about the political candidates at this time, but there's still work to be done, unfortunately.
And one more time, where can people get those resources and the voter guides?
Yeah, I would encourage them to go to frcaction.org. We've got a tab there called Voter Resources, where you can get access to our voter guides. Our 2024 presidential voter guide is there. We have a link to customized voter guides as well. Senate guides will be available soon for all the key races. We've got a tracker listing some of the Biden and Harris administration actions. So you can share some specifics. If you've got a family member or someone in your small group who wants to know something specifically that's been done on issue they care about, we've got that information for you. We've also got our legislative scorecard there, and then information on how to register to vote. It's really important everyone make sure that they're registered to vote and they make a plan to vote in this election. As you pointed out, early voting is underway at the moment.
Absolutely. FRCAction.org. Go check it out, everyone. Matt Carpenter, as always, thank you so much for bringing your insight our way.